as you know, this meeting is recorded and will be uploaded to public internet. So chances are whatever you say in this meeting will last for a very long time. With that, let's just start the meeting. There are a couple of bigger projects that we're working on for 115. One is event pod spreading. The idea is that we are spreading pods among certain failure domains or topology domains, if you will. Way is working on that. It's actually getting closer, I guess, to see a PR for that feature. Is that right, Wei?
Yeah, that is the first PR of the whole CAP implementation. And once that gets approved, I guess we still have to hold it, so that I will set up additional PRs based on that PR, so that we can review one by one. Yeah, I want to speed all the PR because there's a lot of code changes.
Yes, exactly. So by that PR, I believe you were talking about by the first PR, you mean the PR that
API changes.
Sent, API changes, right?
Yes.
That one is already sent, and we are waiting for API reviews.
Yeah, I will remind the Lavalam today to review.
Okay. Yeah, please remind him because I think he wants to review that, but maybe he forgot or he had other things to do. But please remind him and ask him to review it if he can. So that's one of the items, one of the big items that we have for 115. The second one is building the scheduling framework. Some of you folks are helping me with building that. Abdullah is here. He has already sent a PR for implementing permit plugin. That's one of the most important extension points of the scheduler, and it's probably one of the more complex ones. Permit plugin allows us to build more advanced features such as gang scheduling and so on. So there are a few other PRs for the scheduling framework. One is a PR to add unreserved. Basically, unreserved is an informational extension point that allows other plugins to register and get notified in case a pod that was supposed to be reserved or has passed the reserved point is now being unreserved for reasons like an error during binding, an error in permit phase, and so on, or a timeout in permit phase, and so on. That one is under review. Another important PR for the scheduling framework is adding the configuration for the framework. Basically, the configuration specifies which plugins are enabled and also provides arguments for the plugins. Plugins, based on our initial design, can take arbitrary arguments, and we just get that arbitrary arguments and pass it to the plugins. It's up to the plugin to interpret those configurations. Of course, there is a high-level one for which scheduler consumes, and that's just the plugins that are enabled and the plugins that should be called at each extension point. That PR for the configuration is also sent out. It's on a review. I believe it's getting closer to the final version, and hopefully we can merge it soon. Among other plugins that we're working on is a, if I'm not mistaken, we're working on also postbind, and we should probably start. I mean, QSort, I have already also filed an issue for adding QSort, and in fact, actually one of our contributors have also filed the same issue almost in parallel. So anyway, QSort plugin is also being worked on, and the PR is out. That one is under review as well. There are a few other ones for like filter, post-filter, pre-filter, and also for scoring extension points. We will add those as well. But the reason that I didn't file those right away was that I wanted to get these more important or sort of more critical ones, which some of them didn't exist in the original scheduler logic, finalized, and then we could basically go back and add some of the other extension points. We will see. My hope is that we can get more extension points in 115, but given that we are getting closer to the code freeze, we may not be able to add all of them. There is a high chance that we will postpone some of those extension points to 116. In fact, that was the original plan, but we thought if we get lucky, we might get more of these extension points in 115. Okay, any questions about the scheduling framework or even pod spreading? Okay. Yeah, there is another effort to add less than and greater than operators for interpod affinity. The PR for that is also out. We are working with the API reviewers and other folks and contributors to get that merged as well. One other update that I have for you is that during the week of KubeCon and the week after that, we are not going to have any SIG meetings. Of course, we are going to have, as you may already know, we are going to have a face-to-face meeting at the KubeCon Contributor Summit, which is one day before the start of the conference. And also, we are going to have SIG intro and SIG deep dive sessions during the conference. If you happen to attend the conference, you are more than welcome to join us in any of those events. So these are all the updates that I have. I'll let you guys ask questions, or if you have any comments, or if you have any PRs that needs my attention, please go ahead.
I have one question regarding the permit plugin, the extension point. How do we envision that it will be used, for example, for batch scheduling? Do we see that, I imagine that there will be one pod that is getting scheduled, and that pod will basically wait for 5 minutes until other pods gets, placed in the wait queue as well, in the wait map. And then that, I guess my point is, like, is someone needs to wait to accumulate a number of pods to get batch scheduled, right? Who's going to be that entity?
Yes. So I believe more specifically, we are talking about gang scheduling or co-scheduling.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So basically, that entity will be a plugin that is going to be written for that, that is going to get called at that extension point. So so we, I believe you're not aware of this effort that we have in an incubator project, which is called KubeBatch. So as a part of KubeBatch, we are introducing new API as a CRD for now that basically tells us what a gang is. Basically, it has a label selector that says what pods are included in this gang and how many of those should be scheduled together, basically minimum available or something like a field like that exists there that says at least how many of those should be scheduled together. So what happens is that the first one arrives, and this plugin that is called at the permit looks at it and says, oh, this is a part of a gang. So and the minimum available is 5, let's say. So since we don't have 5 yet, it puts a wait on it, right? It just basically calls wait on this. Okay. And maybe 5 minutes or whatever is the timeout. So second arrives, same thing until the fifth one arrives. And then when the fifth one arrives, the plugin can go and approve all of those pods, basically.
So basically, the fifth pod will approve the previous, like the call for the fifth pod will approve the previous 4 pods.
Correct. That logic must be implemented as a part of a plugin. It's not going to be a part of the scheduler. So plugins, basically, plugins have all the freedom to approve or reject pods, whatever, as they wish.
But what if we have the case where we will never get to 5? So basically, we'll get stuck where we're not going to get anything scheduled, right? Like if the plugin is not properly handling these cases.
Right. So, well, first of all, if a plugin has a bug, that's not our problem, really.
No, yeah, but that's not a bug. Like it's, yeah.
So assuming that a plugin is well behaving, there are 2 scenarios that is possible. One scenario, plugin detects that the number of pods never reaches 5, let's say, right? for some reason, or has some logic that under certain conditions it goes ahead and rejects all those pods. So that is one scenario. Either plugin detects that this is not going to happen, or some condition happens and the plugin decides to reject all of them. So that's one possibility. It just goes ahead and rejects all of those in the wait state. Second scenario, the plugin does not detect, and there's no logic that checks certain conditions, or the condition is complex, so we cannot really easily detect it. We never detect. But the reason that we have a timeout is exactly to cover these kind of situations. So after 5 minutes, all of those pods will get rejected automatically, or whatever the timeout is.
Right, but if they get rejected, they will never get rescheduled again unless the pod is updated and gets picked up and added to the queue, right? Or do we put them back in the queue?
We put them back in the queue.
Okay, yeah. Okay, put them back in the queue.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's similar to pod being unschedulable, essentially.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, I think for this topic, we have to rely on some additional information like controller ref to tell which pods belong to the same GAM, unless we impose additional information to the pod stack or additional.
So in the original design, I don't remember exactly, because we had gone back and forth among a few options. I believe the latest version was that there is a concept of pod groups, right? The pod group has a min available, and it either has a label selector, or that basically tells which pods are in this group, or it's I don't remember which option we eventually chose, but anyways, either it has a label selector, or it has a name, and the name is specified in the pod spec. So each individual pod, which is a part of this group, puts the name of the group in its pod spec, so that when the scheduler sees a pod, it knows that it's a part of this group. It goes and fetches the group, looks at it, sees how many is the min available, and basically runs the logic based on that. By the way, this permit plugin is not used only for gang scheduling, to be clear.
Yeah.
It could be used for anything else as well.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand whether we are providing them with the enough. The plugin, we're providing with enough power, right? With enough capability to actually do this kind of decisions. That's just my.
Right. Yes, I think based on what we had in mind, the plugin has all the logic to figure out whether the minimum number of pods are available for getting scheduled or can be scheduled or not. But in the case that we have missed something, we can add it later, of course. There is a reason that we call all of these alpha version, and that's exactly to cover these scenarios. We might have missed something. There might be some bugs here and there and stuff like that. So we can change anything later.
Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Any other question, comments? Anything needs my attention? If there is nothing else, we can end this meeting soon, and you will get 14 minutes of your life back. Okay, let's end the meeting then. Thank you, everyone. See some of you folks next week.